shooting this video, well, there's over 1,000 microwatts per square meter. And once again, if you read the Bioinitiative report, biological effects start at about 3.4 to 6 microwatts per square meter average power line. And I'm going to try to show you the relationship of this power line to these businesses here. All right, these businesses are, I don't know, 25 yards, 35 yards underneath this power line. So let me show you the readings here. This is showing you the electric fields coming off this high voltage line, right here, in volts per meter. And that's almost 600 volts per meter. Precautionary levels, sorry for the bad camera work, precautionary levels are 10 to 20 volts per meter, the high voltage line. You see that? And here I am in relation to the high voltage line. I'm just standing, this is going upwards of 1400 volts per meter of electric fields. And the reason I'm shooting this video is just to bring awareness to those of you who are a bit higher, going up to over 1200 microwatts per square meter. So again, this really is what I consider just a modern day crime scene. And the reason I'm shooting this video is to alert people who literally, innocent people who aren't carrying around meters, who aren't educated about radio frequency. There's many human beings who are simply working in places like this every single day. And my suggestion, don't work in locations like this. Do not work in locations that are right underneath a cell phone tower or even a quarter of a mile away. It's not worth finding out 5 or 10 years in the future what the possible detrimental health effects are.
I didn't predict, I proved, using government figures, World Health Organization figures, secret figures, I proved that in just 3 generations, 60 years of human life, only of the exposed populations, only 1 in 8 children after 3 generations could be born healthy. Now, that has been, people picked that up and ran with experiments, which I'm very pleased of. And oddly enough, I read just a few days ago that experiments show that entire species of animals, entire species can be extinct in 5 generations. Now, that would match my prediction, because if you've got only 1 in 8, roughly after 3, you then don't have enough population of anything to sustain a workable population. So it's been published, I read it just a few days ago, that they are now showing that after 5 generations for some animals, they could become extinct, except, and this is interesting, except bacteria and viruses. They seem to proliferate and grow and become more deadly in microwaves.
This is Olga Sheehan. She's a former employee of the World Health Organization, and she wrote a book called No Safe Place. You might be aware of Olga, Barry. Olga says, Olga, Olga says, the plans to beam highly penetrative 5G milliwave radiation at us from space must surely be one of the greatest follies ever conceived of by mankind. There will be nowhere safe to live.
To broadcast the entire Earth, it takes 2 kilowatts, 2 hair dryers. Now, a microwave oven uses 1,000 watts, or 1 kilowatt. Here's the damage 1 kilowatt can be done by somebody when they take a magnetron out of a microwave and turn it into a ray gun. This is just a small example of a low-tech weapon running on 1,000 watts. Then you have these things here, these huge towers of death. Now each row in this tower, an array, or a set of dishes or rectennas or whatever you want to call them, is connected to a cable with a maximum power output of 300,000 watts, or 300 kilowatts. That's 300 microwave ovens. We based that conservative estimate based on the gauge of the cabling that's running up to one of these arrays. They're estimated at 300,000 watts per cable. Those aren't fiber optic cables running up to those arrays. It's a thick copper gauge transmission line quality cable running up those towers. Now, if there's 10 cables, that's like 3 megawatts of power. And these cables are out there to output power to the magnetron, not for data transfer. That's an important point. These cell phone towers are weaponized. There's no other reason to have this much power running up the cables. It isn't for data transfer. Now, FCC regulations limit normal transmission per array to about 400 watts. To put that into perspective, 1 watt from your phone can go 25 miles to the nearest tower. A 1,000 watt magnetron on a stick can blow shit up. And these towers have a 300 kilowatt power line running up to each rectenna. And who knows, there could be an amplifier at the top of these towers that steps up the power even more. The point is here, ladies and gentlemen, is that these companies, like Lucent and Google, could turn up the juice at any time and nuke a town. They could nuke the entire country without any warning, without anybody being able to protect themselves. They could cook them like a boiling frog in the middle of the night. This infrastructure is not only in place, it's built up with multiple levels of redundancy. Every big city has thousands of these death towers. And all that needs to happen is for an AI from Google or whoever to come in and nuke everybody at once and take over. Who out there remembers that movie Terminator? Well, Google doesn't have to send a Terminator to every door or launch a nuclear strike. It can just turn on these cell phone towers to maximum and cook everybody within the city limits within an hour.
Actually, the fruitful link is comparing what happened in California to the technology that is rolled out with 5G, because it's like a micronized version of the military technology that has been built at large scale. And whatever is possible with the military technology is what we saw actually in California, now also in Louisiana, where an entire electric infrastructure of a little town was taken out by directed energy, and possibly in New York. So this is kind of the large-scale thing, and imagine you have this weapon in small-scale, controlling, observing, and regulating whatever happens in a normal living community, in a town, in a village. This is kind of comparable in quality, but just from different size.
Right, right. And so, what do you think, how did it actually happen? How did the fires actually happen?
What you need to understand to get an idea how that works is what phase array technology is. We know that from HARP. HARP is classical phase array broadcasting. You have a field of single antennas that are built in a rectangular pattern like a chessboard and with a defined distance, and every single signal on every single antenna is completely controlled in a way that they have a phase, they broadcast on the same frequency, but with shifted phases. Like if you have one sign on one antenna, it starts here. On the second antenna, the sign starts a bit later. On the third antenna, it starts even later. So when all these sign forms overlay somewhere out there in open space, they might be annihilating each other, they might create white random noise, or they might add on to each other in a way that you get a laser quality. Like all signs with a strong part in the same spot in the same moment. So this gives you the possibility actually to focus on a spot that is far out, far away from the antenna, have a kind of harmless signal all the way down to that spot that doesn't say anything to anyone, and then suddenly locally you get extremely high intensities that can be compared with a laser pointer instead of a little light bulb. So extremely effective in doing things. Then you have additionally, it's not only the energetic input with laser or phase conjugated signals, it has certain frequencies that have an extraordinary influence on materials. You can with very low energy evaporate things out of nothing. Like some of these things are used in laser cutting technology. Kind of the rule of thumb is for 1/10 of a millimeter of metal sheet, you need 10 watts of laser light to cut it. Not try to cut steel with 10 watts of normal light coming out of a light bulb. It will never work. So it's clearly you realize that actually there's like 3,000 times more force and effect in coherent light delivered by lasers and phase area technology. So when you want to destroy cars, you just create one of these hot spots in the middle of a road, and whatever drives through catches fire and fries the people inside. And this is what you actually can see in California. You've got completely non-burned forests to the left and to the right of the street, and then a line of wrecks that were completely burned down, with the people inside of the cars burned down to skeletons. And this is frying something with microwave that has this special laser quality. And it's exactly one type of antennas that can do it, because if you would take a normal laser cannon within the visible spectrum, it would look different. Maybe you could punch a hole into something. But it would not exactly heat the metal from inside out. This is something that is inducing current in the metal and heating it from inside out. Then you get molten engine blocks, molten aluminum wheels, like we saw the pictures in California.
Literally melted into the road. And also the houses, because the trees next to it are standing, but the metal beams, everything is disintegrated. It's just a puddle.
Yeah, you just need metal basically. So every single screw in the wooden construction will heat up and ignite a little fire.
Wow.
This is how easy the electric wires. It has been actually used before as a more weapon to target single individuals.
Now, Harald, who would be capable of doing that? Would it be the electric company? Would it be the military? Who would be doing that in your estimation?
No clue. I have no clue who is in charge of the antenna systems that are on the ground in the United States.